I'm Dr. Sam McGinnis.
And I'm Dr. Michael McGinnis.
And we're the Irish Docs. We had an amazing time yesterday at the talk. It was fantastic for mental health.
That's right.
I know my health became more mentally.
It was a great time we had yesterday. Thank you for everyone who was in attendance. We had about 25 people in attendance, which was fantastic between in-person and online. So thank you so much for everyone that was in attendance. There's obviously some great giveaways that were given to some lucky winners yesterday. So congratulations to all those who won. We had a great time. We had a lot of good information, and a lot of people left. We had got good comments of people saying that their minds were really blown away by some of the information, which is great. And also, we're glad that we could provide that for you. Other people were a little bit more like, it was, they learned a couple things, but some of the stuff they already knew, which is fantastic. And obviously, they're already ahead of the game there. So, way to go.
So we have another talk coming up here on the 3rd. If you missed this one, I think the videos are all taken down now.
That's right, they are.
I think so. I think the one on Facebook is. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I guess now.
We have another talk coming up on the 3rd of next month, May.
That's right. That's right. We're starting the May talks.
That's right.
Crazy. This month went so fast.
Yes, and no, it's been crazy. But so next month we're going to be focusing on pelvic stability and the immune system, autoimmune disease.
Yeah, that's right. Next month is going to be a big focus on autoimmune. But leading up to this next talk, we're going to talk a lot about functional movement. So really, with the remainder of April, we're going to talk a lot about functional movement therapy, especially as it pertains to stability and recovery as an effect of childbirth. So it's going to be really, really informative. And this, of course, occurs to anyone in like that age range where you're having kids, and also in that age range where maybe you're more menopausal, but you've had kids. This is also going to pertain to you very much.
Yes, and also before you have kids too as well.
Yeah, very much.
Now, a lot of guys are like, well, this is not going to apply to me. And I mean, do you have a pelvis? I mean,
that's right. This still applies to you, gentlemen.
Still applies to you.
That's right.
I think it's far more crucial for women because unlike men, women, they go through a lot of significant structural changes when they do give birth, leading up to and after. So it's huge. So let's dig into it right away. Now, Dr. Michael, before we talk about pelvic stability, we have to talk about the hormonal changes that affect the musculoskeletal system leading up to childbirth and after.
For sure.
So
so there's obviously a lot of hormonal change, especially in that during the childbirthing process, and once someone becomes pregnant, all the hormonal changes that start to take place immediately at the conception that start taking place, and obviously those are play a big role. I'm going to go into a lot more of that in another video, maybe even tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about that in detail. There's obviously a lot of hormones, and these hormones play a direct role, especially when we start talking about relaxin, which Dr. Sam was talking about just earlier today, even how a lot of these hormones, and obviously that's just one of many, that are going to make direct changes to the structure and start making structural changes in the body. So you're understanding how those are taking place, how you can support your hormonal system through that process, and also understanding that some of those hormonal processes have to happen, they're good, they're normal, and they need to happen in order for you to have a successful birth.
Yes. So when you have a relaxin.
Relaxin.
Relaxin. I got to make sure I get that nailed down right. When you have relaxin,
there's a lot of
them. Exactly. When you have relaxin, obviously it does a couple different major functions within the body, but one of them is relaxing or loosening up pelvic ligaments. Actually loosens up all the ligaments in your body, but especially the ligaments in the pelvic region, which is fantastic because if you're going to fit a football between your legs, then you have to be able to open that up to 10 centimeters. So, now with that being said, a lot of women feel, especially when they start getting into the 3rd trimester, they've had these weird sensations like their legs are going to pop off, or like their sacrum is just going to like snap, or so, like they have all these weird sensations because they're picking up a tremendous amount of feedback from Golgi tendon bodies. Now, what are Golgi tendon bodies? Golgi tendon bodies, and those are basically organs that live inside our tendons and ligaments. There's a bunch of them, but Golgi is one of the more common one. And they send real-time feedback from those ligaments to your brain on how stretched those ligaments are. Now, it's natural, of course, when you're going to give birth to have them all stretch quite a bit and have that pelvic girdle kind of open up. But that also has to settle back into place and tighten up after birth. And see, that's the tricky part, because when everything opens up, obviously we want to make sure that the joints between the sacrum and the SI joints, the joints between the lumbar and the sacrum, all those pelvic joints are moving good to begin with, because they can't open up if they're locked. That just makes sense, right? So if they're locked, that's why chiropractic is shown to be very successful with and correlated with decreased labor times and just overall better
comfort. With pre and post.
Yeah, because if you have a locked joint back there and your body tries to open it up, it can't, because it's locked.
And it creates a lot of irritation and inflammation and pain.
Yeah, so not fun.
Yeah.
Now, there are women that have low back pain leading into childbirth. The baby's on their sciatic nerve or different things like that, and that's kind of just unfortunately part of that process.
Right.
Sometimes not all of that can be corrected. But that healing process afterwards is where that recovery is so very, very important to reestablish all those patterns. Now, Dr. Michael, if I have a plastic bag and I start, here's a better idea, I have a spring.
Yeah.
Let's say I have a spring and I stretch that spring out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I let go of the spring, it'll snap back, but it's not going to snap back exactly to the same spot. It'll snap back maybe a little bit longer than it was before, because if it got stretched past that point of its ability to hold its shape, then its shape elongates. Now, with the ligaments inside of the pelvis, when they stretch to a certain threshold, sometimes they don't always snap back exactly to where they were. And so your body adjusts by creating a new motor pattern or adapting to that new pattern on how you walk and how you move and how you bend. Now, this becomes more complicated for those who are maybe not athletes or maybe not working intentionally on keeping their body in fit shape before they give birth, because there's less feedback from those muscles and ligaments. The body has a harder time kind of snapping everything back into place. Kind of like if you're trying to build Legos blind, the brain has a hard time doing that. It's hard to build the Lego ships without looking at the manual. So I don't know how many people played with Legos growing up. It was a huge part of my life, early life. So that's where retraining those muscle groups and re-stimulating those motor patterns is so vitally important, especially for women that are recovering.
So explain, how does functional movement do that? How does functional movement accomplish that?
So basically what we do is we have the person run through a screen, and we have to figure out exactly what's wrong before we can try to correct it.
Sure.
That's one of the biggest problems we see, is that exercises are given out without a thorough examination. You can't know what's going on unless you first test it. So we give a
test, we don't guess.
Yes, right. We give a screening in the process, a screen that can give you really good information, gives us even better information on what's going on. Once we have determined which motor patterns, such as walking, squatting, bending over, all kinds of different motor patterns are, if there is one that is dysfunctional, we can correct it through various different movements and exercises to reestablish and reconnect your pelvis back to your brain, so to speak, with motor control. That's kind of the main focus point of it. There's a little bit more to the step process, obviously creating mobility, elasticity, motor patterns, and loading it.
Can you give an example of, and obviously I know that you work with so many different dysfunctions, whether it's shoulder, pelvis, knee, ankle, it doesn't matter. Obviously, you've done that at all. But can you give a specific example, or can you think of a specific example of a patient that you worked with that specifically had pelvic dysfunction, what they were struggling with beforehand, after treatment, and then what they were doing after?
So one of the more common things I see in regards to recovery from childbirth actually is usually in postmenopausal women, because they didn't do any work during the baby years on their pelvis or on their core. And so now that they are, babies that have left the house, they're all grown up, and then they start having some low back and hip trouble. They've been having it all along, but it's just getting to the place where they can't handle it anymore. And that's where I work a lot with, the labral tears in the hip joints, in the hip sockets, and or low back sacral instabilities. And that's a lot harder road to get through, because there's a lot of years, there's a lot of history on those dysfunctional joints, and they wear out in certain patterns that are just dysfunctional.
Right.
So the biggest thing that we got to do with those is stabilize everything. We just got to get it to the point where you can move on it, you can function on it without pain. And that's, it sounds simple, but it's actually one of the biggest most difficult hurdles. Once you can stabilize the joint, then actually working out and exercising on it becomes a lot more simple or straightforward, because you don't have to worry about hurting yourself every time you go to the gym, or like you do 2 workouts in a row and all of a sudden it's just too much. It's because it's unstable.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things we see with women that are younger. When they try to get back in shape and start running and stuff, they hurt themselves. Their pelvis is completely different. Any woman that's given birth knows that when they start walking around afterwards, everything feels different. It feels different for quite some time before it becomes the new normal.
Yeah.
So, some practical things for people. If you are having a baby, or you're going to have a baby, or you've had a baby, or you had a baby a long time ago, some very, very important practical things are basically finding situations where you can walk or sit where you have more core engagement. We talk about the rector abdominal muscles all the time, like the front abdominal muscles, where you get your 6-pack and everything.
Yeah.
Or the beach body, But that's really only like one of several, I think it's like 6 or 8 different muscle groups that are in the core that control core stability. Especially I'm not just talking about like the abdominals area. I'm not even talking about like hip flexors or extensors. And the oblique abdominal muscles are so very, very important, especially after childbirth. You want to be able to pull that belly back in. You want to be able to pull and stabilize the hips when you walk, because walking is going to be very important after childbirth. So basically, any exercises where you're taking your knee and touching your elbow and kind of strengthening those oblique abdominal muscles is going to be huge. It's going to be absolutely
full circle on this, Dr. Samuel. Can you give an example? And I know you kind of answering this question, but can you give an example specifically of a patient who's done this treatment, who's gone to functional movement, how they're doing now as an effect of the treatment?
Yes, absolutely. There's a couple ladies that I had the chance to run through the whole program with that had trouble with getting up off the ground and with their hips in general, which is usually you can kind of trace that back to like childbirth and stuff.
Yeah.
Not always, but you can. One in particular is been doing fantastic. One of the biggest things that we were able to get through was the sensitivity of the whole body. I mean, every time they tried, it was just their pelvis and low back was very unstable. So once we got that stabilized, which was the biggest hurdle, they were able to start doing stuff at home. They joined exercise classes like Zumba and all these other things are great classes.
Yeah.
But you can't be doing this stuff if you got an unstable pelvis. Your entire upper body is resting on that.
Yeah.
So, and then that kind of kick-started them into changing their whole lifestyle over, because that affects their weight, that affects their exercise, that affects their metabolism, everything else.
That is so important. Actually, I'm going to comment on this for a second. How important it is to make sure that we're getting patients out of, obviously pain is not our focus. We're focused more on function, because when we get the joints and the body functional, pain leaves as an effect of that. Pain is always an effect of dysfunction. So as long as we get things functional, pain will follow. But it's so important to understand that how all this connects in the fact of restoring someone's lifestyle and overall health. Because you get a person out of pain, you get a person functional, they're able to do so many more things, able to do things that they love and enjoy, and they kind of get a whole new perspective on life.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that you see the lifestyle and the health changes that they're able to make simply because, and this is what blows my mind, is like exactly what you're talking about. When you see someone start losing weight, and Dr. Samuel fixed pelvic instability on this patient, next to restore pelvic, you would think like, okay, well, it's not like he changed their diet, but by changing the pelvic stability, that allows the patient to be able to move without pain and enjoy doing these different activities that they used to like to do before. And obviously this snowballs. That's why it's all connected. That's what we do at McGinnis Chiropractic. It's all about restoring function of the body so that you can do what you love to do and live a healthier lifestyle. Yeah. And everything plays a role in it. There's all these different pieces to the puzzle that need to be addressed.
Yeah. So I mean, big takeaway. If you look up exercises on oblique abdominal muscles, they're huge. Basically, you want to touch your elbows to your knees. So you want to line your back and touch your elbows to your knees. That's going to engage those oblique abdominal muscles, and that's just kind of like a very just general. Every single female should be doing this before childbirth. After and before and after. Sometimes you get in the third trimester, there's not really much you can do there. I mean, you're just kind of waiting until the baby comes out. I mean, your body's not designed to stay in thard trimester your entire life.
That's right.
Thank God, right?
Yeah. that's where my wife and I are at right now.
Yeah.
Emily is just a month away now from
that's right.
giving birth. So, and that's her trimester.
Yeah, she's how's she holding up with with the
She's doing
tenderness,
great.
everything's
She's doing really good. We've
She
been
looks-
taking good care of her, so she's been doing wonderful.
Yes.
We're very excited about that.
So we have a conference coming up in Mill City Church in Neenah. We're officially sponsoring Outrageous Sisterhood over there. We're going to be giving away some consultations and different things to them.
A lot of gifts and handouts there as well.
Yeah, there are speakers that are coming in from all over the world or all over the United States. I'm not exactly sure everyone that is coming this year, but it has been very, very amazing before in the past. I think last year they had to take a break because of COVID. This year they're back in action, and it's going to be awesome. So if you guys want to check that out, you can check it out on their website,
Maybe we'll leave. Do they have a link or a website?
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Maybe we'll throw it in the comments so that people can check that out. Obviously, Dr. Sam and I'll be there. I'll see about myself.
Yeah,
Sam, for sure.
I will for sure be there. But Dr. Mike might not be there. Might be helping deliver his baby or something.
We'll see. So anyway, we're wrapping things up. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. Hopefully learned a little something about pelvic stability. As we're moving forward, Dr. Sam's going to be talking a lot more about that throughout the course of this week, and obviously that's going to be a big part of the next talk that'll be coming on May, we say 3rd?
Yeah,
May 3rd.
Yes,
that's going to be Monday, 6:30 here at the clinic.
That's going to be focused on the pelvis and the low back, and all those intricate workings with that. There's going to be a lot of exercises. There's going to be a lot of interaction. So if you're watching it, you're going to want to clear some space to watch it because it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
it's going to be very fun.
So please stay tuned for that. Obviously, we'll be posting that event here shortly. Again, thank you for everyone who showed up. And also this Friday, Dr. Sam, what month is it?
It is the month of kindness and giving.
Right. So this Friday, you're going to want to tune in. Anything that you leave in the comment section leading up to this Friday. So leave green hearts in the comment section because Dr. Sam and I are going to be giving away literally hundreds of dollars of giveaways this Friday. So please leave a green heart in the comments section and you will be able to have your name put in that drawing. Dr. Sam will be giving away a functional movement gift basket or giveaway, as well I utilizing the Wellness Way resource. Yeah, I kind of set myself up for failure there. All right, so the Wellness Way thing. So we're going to continue to be doing that all throughout the rest of this month, both this week and next week. So please stay tuned. Obviously, there's a lot of things to win and take part of that way. So, Dr. Sam, I think that's all we got time for today.
That's all we got time for today. So the winning look is. You're going to have to give it, Dr. Mike. We have
to do this the old-fashioned way.
It is the old-fashioned way.
We have to do this old-fashioned.
Let's see here. What is a good pelvis? I'm just going to go. We're going to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think you'd really do pelvis.
Stability. I can't really do that. So we'll just go. Oh Lord. We're just going to do.
Yeah, just like it's like a heart.
There we go. Can I do that?
Yeah.
You move your hand. Is that working?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, smile.